You probably think it's things beyond your control, like job layoffs, market downturns, maybe big expenses that you weren't planning for, are the biggest driving forces for derailing your planning efforts for retirement. But it's possible that your decisions could be sabotaging achieving a retirement that's secure, and that's a challenge. Think of it just like one cookie won't hurt, right? And then pretty soon you're walking into the kitchen every time, grabbing another cookie, and pretty soon you're telling yourself, I'll eat healthier next week because you unknowingly ate the whole batch of cookies. I want to go through 5 examples of the kind of emotional decisions that can be dramatically sabotaging your retirement success. And you'll notice a theme here that we talk a lot about mindset in our videos. So if you want to learn more about how you can change your mindset and unlock even more possibilities, sign up for a free copy of our book, Dream Architecture. I'm Amber Knips, a wealth advisor at Sweet Financial Partners, located in Fairmont and Jackson, Minnesota. And I specialize in working with high net worth individuals as they're nearing retirement and thinking about some of the what ifs and big transitions in their lives. And we believe that everyone has the right to realize that their dreams are possible. And we use that as our focus when we're working with clients and helping them plan for the future. I know you're probably thinking, but Amber, all of those things are affecting my account balances. How can they not affect my retirement plans? And if you've properly designed a diversified portfolio, then the day-to-day movements of the markets, those are not driving your long-term success. If done properly, your funds are all reacting a little bit to market volatility and potentially taking advantage of some of those different market movements. So instead of focusing every day on what the Dow or the S&P is doing, instead, you should be focusing on what you can control, what you're doing to make sure you're staying on track, and what information, positive or negative, you are feeding yourself. So today I want to go through 5 examples of the kind of emotional decisions that can be dramatically sabotaging your retirement success. So the first is having the mindset that you can't afford it. And it's amazing how many times I've heard this, and I always ask, well, what do you mean? And usually it's followed by, well, I read this article once and it said I need X amount of money to retire. But I think that's looking at it the wrong way, of being so focused on a certain dollar amount that really has no weighting. I believe it's more important instead to be focusing on what do you want to be doing in retirement. So that's what's helping you determine what your wealth needs to be accomplishing for you, is figuring out what's that dollar amount to do those different things, and then working the math backwards to see how much money do you need to have in order to do all of those important things. Because really it looks so different for everybody. There's no perfect one size fits all retirement, and that's what makes us all unique. But it's finding out what's important to you, and that's the way to gauge your success. So determining if you can retire, it's basically kind of the start of you, and then having someone like an advisor to help you figure out what's that look like. So the next one I've heard a lot is market volatility we've been seeing this year is now too much. Is the market too high to invest? Or I'll wait for a dip to invest, or I'll wait for the market to improve to invest. It just take your pick on what's happening with the markets. And I want to touch on that now because now is a great time, regardless of what the market's doing, to start that monthly savings. And taking advantage of all of those different lower points, if they come along as a benefit, it's not a negative. And the great thing is when the market's down, you're buying more shares. So you're giving yourself even more of an opportunity to see upside when it does happen. Nobody can predict the market, not anybody. So regardless of which articles you're finding and which way they say, you can pretty much find anything on the internet. But it's more important to be invested in the best quality investments for your strategy. So historically, from a general standpoint, there should be more ups than downs if you're investing over a long time period. So invest for the long haul. Don't get worried and hung up on the in-betweens. And really, if you're starting that regular contribution, it's helping you, see some of those different points too and have a little bit more comfort. And the third one, and probably one of the most common misconceptions that so many people believe, is that you should be deferring taxes as long as possible. And this can really wreak a lot of havoc on someone's retirement because the longer you defer taxes, the more uncertainty will arise as how much you have to pay. And it's a misconception that you'll always be in a much lower tax bracket in retirement because many cases you may end up being in the same or potentially higher tax bracket. There's currently a lot of uncertainty about what will happen with tax brackets, so it's even more important to have an understanding of your tax bracket now, where you'll be in retirement, and where you estimate that you'll be once you have to start taking those required minimum distributions. If you've only ever saved in that pre-tax retirement account, everything that comes out of that account is subject to income tax. So it really turns into a waterfall effect of the more comes out, the more Social Security is subject to tax, and the higher your tax bracket goes. I had a conversation with a client the other day who's retiring at the end of the year, and we were going through where to take funds from, tax brackets, and all those different things. And he was surprised to hear that we were recommending a mix between his different accounts of taking that draw and not just taking from his after-tax funds first. He said, geez, Amber, I was really looking forward to not paying a lot of taxes. He's like, all I do is pay his taxes, right? I know sometimes it can feel like that, but keeping in mind, the more we put that too, looking at spending too much of some of those non-taxable funds is only going to create that bigger kind of time bomb for later. So we put the analysis together of what it would look like if he only took from those non-taxable funds, and he was shocked. He ran out of money so much sooner than he would have thought, and it would have meant at some point a change in lifestyle. So we showed instead, tax rates and all of the different comparisons of saying if we did the recommended strategy versus the one he was originally thinking, and he was shocked of the difference that tax planning can make. So, which is why tax bracket management while you're working and all through retirement is so important. So it's key to work with an advisor to create that spending plan so that you can maximize the amount of money that you keep, not the amount of money essentially that you're taking out and ending up paying on taxes. Which leads into number 4, not having a distribution plan and an investment strategy to match your income can be a huge issue. So something that we have all of our clients go through is our dream architect process, which is basically creating a baseline of what your expenses are compared to income so we can see, is there a gap or is there a surplus? And this gives us an idea of what your long-term portfolio could either grow to, or potentially decrease to, depending on how it's invested. Having that baseline really guides all of the decisions when we're doing that distribution planning and looking at what possibilities your wealth can offer you. So think of it like when you take a road trip vacation. Once you pick a destination, you enter it into navigation to get an idea of the best route to get there, right? So from there, then you do your research on things that you can do along the way to just add to your trip and enhance the fun. Maybe it's new antique stores that you've never been to, restaurants, or if you're my husband, gas stations that carry the best quality gas. So you carefully plan the times where you'll be stopping so that you can plan around meals, sleeping arrangements, things like that. And it's especially true if you're driving through the open range of South Dakota, which could be hours until the next hotel. So it's the same concept when it comes to taking distributions. You need that same careful planning because leaving those decisions to making them as you go can mean maybe you're selling something at not a great time or for more tax consequences than desired, or sleeping in your car at the rest stop because you missed that hotel. So it's not always as simple as taking from your biggest account first, which, while that may seem like it works, you may be inadvertently spending your accounts down quicker because of the lack of tax efficiency. So saving for retirement, that's the easy part, right? You know that being diligent, tucking away your funds, being growth oriented, that's likely going to help you reach your goals. But creating that income distribution plan so that you can reach your goals most efficiently is so important because that's where it gets really complicated, and tagging in a professional can make a lot of sense. So the last And probably most important item to consider is that retirement will not necessarily make you permanently happier. So it's not exactly a downside or a sabotage, but it's a myth that a lot of people think about. And that can hurt your retirement success because if you're looking for long term happiness, retiring early is not necessarily the end all answer. So it could certainly help, but like most things, it's kind of the shiny new toy, but the excitement can fade. So it's giving you the freedom that you didn't have before, doing things on your terms that are most important to you. But keep in mind, there's always going to be the things, the lingering kind of worries and anxieties that you just can't escape. Instead of meetings and deadlines, your worries may shift to your health or the health of your friends and family. So it's important to make sure that you're focusing on what you're retiring to and not just what you're retiring from. Having a purpose for your day to day and finding things to look forward to. And maybe that means volunteering or coordinating time with friends and family, extra vacations, but focusing on what you're retiring to. So, like I mentioned before, changing your retirement mindset is so crucial. We're all guilty of getting stuck in the day to day and maybe losing sight on the future a little bit because of that narrow focus. So, I encourage you to reach out for a free copy of our book, Dream Architecture, to keep the right mindset to help you build a retirement beyond what's possible.